So, oil painters are slow. They chew up grass and spit it into a bowl of oil to mix it up to paint with. They still think Victorian wallpaper is in style. And they go outside and pee in people's sheds because they don't understand indoor plumbing.
Illustrations by Pete.
I have never painted with oil before in my life. I've used the slow dry acrylics, not the same thing. The thing with oil is when you have to get everything ready and you set it up, and that takes a while, and then you paint for like 45 seconds, and then it takes an hour to clean that up. The solvents, you gotta pour off the solvent and scrape out the paint, and then you can reuse the solvent, but then you'll brush, you gotta use the solvent. It's messy. I don't like the solvents. They destroy my nasal passages. It's not good for me. And it's toxic anyway, and I don't want to rinse anything. You can't rinse it out and let it go down the drain. You can't do that. Take it easy. I went and picked up the Winsor & Newton Artisan water mixable oils. Don't say anything. They are oil paints. The only difference is in the molecular structure, there's like an open chain where they can accept water one time, only one time. And then when that water evaporates, they're just plain oil paints again. They do not mix again with water. They're oil. Here's the thing. When you paint with something on these water mixable oils, if you mix in water, you're not supposed to mix with it. In the beginning layers, sometimes they do add a little bit more water. You're not supposed to. They have water mixable oils to mediums to mix in there. But if you have too wet of a layer underneath and then you paint on top with more paint, and that water, and of course because it's gessoed board or gesso a canvas or whatever, where it's not penetrating, so that the water there can't move, but the water on the surface evaporates, and now the water underneath in the paint, it moves a little bit more, but the top is drying, and so it starts to crack and separate. It's not good. I'm not going to use these right, but I have to use them. Let me tell you why. I contacted the good people over at Legion. I got in touch with my contact over there and I said, I was waiting for these sketchbooks. Are they ever going to come? Are they going to come to us? I want them. Are they going to come later? I know everything's pushed back. The world is a mess. Am I going to see them this year? Maybe. Is it first? He said, hold on. It's okay. It's going to come out. But we had to push it on the back burner for a minute because we wanted to release another product. Stonehenge oil. It says on it, if oil paints had a bucket list, this 100% cotton paper with no ghosting or bleed through would be on it. This velvety surface requires absolutely no prep. So you don't need gesso, you don't need canvas, you just need this. This is Stonehenge oil. 100% cotton paper with no gesso, no prep work. It's smooth and it does have that velvety texture on it. They don't know me, so they sent me samples. They're going to find out quick. I have 4 sheets. I'm going to cut them in half and use 8 different tests. Of course, these 8 tests are not going to all be in this video. I'm just going to paint the oil, water mixable oils that are oil paints, snobs, in on that and just see what I can do with it. But I'm going to do watercolor. It says no bleed through. I'm going to use alcohol markers. I'm going to use graphite. I'm going to use everything, acrylics, everything I can. But here's my theory now. With the water mixable oils, there's some absorption of that paper. It's 100% cotton. That's what it is. So there's some absorption of that water. Maybe putting that little bit of water underneath, and you're not mixing a lot. It's just a couple of drops just when you mark things out and you're just trying to figure out where stuff goes, that's where you put a little bit of water in it. It should dry better because it gets absorbed a little bit, so it won't rely on the top surface layer to push that water out. Maybe it'll work. I am not going to use this right. Don't do what I do. If you're serious about art, never do what I do. I just have fun and experiment. I'm not a real artist, but I do play one on YouTube. Let's get into this. I'm going to hammer this stuff. I'm going to try and tear it apart and get in there, and this is not sponsored. No one would sponsor me if they knew it was good for them. No, this is not sponsored. They did send me some free samples, and I will use them. But that's it. And then if I can find this anywhere, I think they have it over at Wet Paint. On the site, it says it's available at Wet Paint. I have never shopped there before. They're over in Minnesota. I know Marty from Owings Art. He talks very highly about them. But yeah, go ahead and head over there. I'll put a link down below if I can for Wet Paint. And it's not a paid link. It's just you go there and you can shop for the stuff. Because I want you to try it. If it's good, we'll try it. Alright. Let's get into this. Okay, and I'm going to pay a little homage to Bob Ross here and put all the colors that I'm using up on the screen so you know what I'm using. That all came in the set. Anyway, the first thing I know that you noticed, this is what the first thought when you clicked on this video. Does that guy ever brush his hair? Because the last video, I had that same weird hair thing happening. Look, it was a bad day. Get off my case about it a little bit. It was just I recorded the beginnings of those videos at the same time and didn't look in the mirror in between the videos. So just get off my back a little bit about it. Let's talk about this. Now this is, I think, the #1 sign of a good substrate. Just whatever it is. It could be paper, panel, canvas, whatever you use. Is that you don't even notice what you're using. You don't even pay attention to the fact that you're doing it on that thing. So that's how this was. I know this oil paint is a little bit more, I don't know, it's a little bit just more tacky almost than I would picture oil paint to be, and probably the water mixable oils has something to do with that. But they didn't have a problem with this paint. I didn't even notice that I was painting on paper. I could have been painting on a canvas, maybe slightly a little bit drier because the paper did absorb some of the moisture. But really, there was nothing to it, and there's nothing on the backside. I did not show you in the video, but I flip it over, nothing went through that. Is oil on paper, usually you'd see a big dark spot underneath. Nothing. So very excited about that. I'm going to test this thing out on a bunch of other stuff, and we'll see how that does. But for this purpose, which is its main purpose, it's why it was created, I would say go nuts on it. Have some fun, and that's all I was doing here. I wasn't trying to paint anything in particular. I was just having fun and doing something a little abstract, and I will try this again. I will probably try this again because it was fun. The way that the oils mixed, I've never had paint mix like that, and that's just a unique thing with oil paint. And it's fun to blend with. It just blends so smooth, and you can work it for a while and you don't have to worry about anything. So anyway, I will try this again. Alright, now since I am talking about oil painting and things like that, this is a good time to bring up a subject I would like to talk about. And I've wanted to talk about this for a very long time. There's just no point to really talk about it. You know, because all the other conversations I've had with you, there was a point to those, and that was great timing. But no, now is the time for this. So one of the biggest criticisms that I hear from artists is, especially more artistic, how do you say that nicely? You know, they have their nose up, they're sniffing too many fumes. They criticize modern artists they say, oh, they're not painting the way that the old masters used to paint. Look at the way the old masters used to paint the lighting and the depth and I just want to point something out. Most of those people were painting by candlelight in dark homes where they didn't have the room, and what they were good at was that there was only a little bit of light and that lit off the side of a person, and they would make that so vibrant and so bright, and then around them is just complete darkness, just utter darkness. And that's what they were looking at, though. They just were good at portraying that on their canvas. That's what they were looking at. Now we see someone there lit in a huge well-lit room with lights everywhere, and you can light it however you want. Light it from underneath, light it from the top, the side, and it just lights up the whole room. And That's how things are lit up now. So that's how a lot of people paint now, because they're painting what they see. I like that stuff, but don't feel bad if you don't do that and someone starts criticizing you. Say, look, I also don't ride a day's journey to the next town to buy flour and ride all the way back so the next day I could spend 4 hours baking bread. I don't do that either, because that's not what I'm dealing with in my lifetime. That's what they had to deal with. They were doing things the way that they had to do them, the best they could with what they had, and it was beautiful. And all you can do is the best with what you have, and it will be beautiful. So don't take that kind of crap from anybody, and really listen. I like the way that a lot of the Rembrandt's one of my favorite painters ever in history. I just love the way that there was just a little bit lit up, and then everything around it is. I love the high contrast, but that's just me. And don't fall for that trap either. Someone telling you, hey, you know, you've gotta like, who's your favorite old master painter? And you're like, I don't really know any. And now, what? How could you call yourself an artist if you don't study? You do what you do. Most of the artists that I love to watch and I love to look at their artwork, they're alive today or recently, in recent history. That's my favorite stuff. Most of them are alive today. Most of them are people I love to look at their art and now. But yes, I do like some Sargent and all that. I love looking at their work as well. So if you ever want to look up some old masters and you want to see what they did, there's a website called Web Gallery of Art. I'm going to put the link down below. You can look up any artist, look at all their paintings from the different time periods, the different things they were going through. Oh, this is when they were painting like this, and this is when they were painting like this. And it's a great resource to look up old art and get some inspiration. You know, I believe it was the Stillman and Burns Zeta Series sketchbook, and I went ahead and I was pointing out some quick sketches that I did. It was just quick scribble art of some of the portraits. They were Rembrandt paintings. I was just doing quick scribble sketches of them, of the portraits, because I just loved the composition. That's all. They didn't look anything like it. They were a little bit more cartoonized and things, but I love looking through the art. And also, one of my favorite things to do really with the site is to find an artist that I've never heard of before and look at their art and maybe find some new inspiration somewhere where I've just never seen it before. So I will, like I said, that'll be down below. But also, don't feel pressure to have to go look at that and have to go look at the old masters, artists. Maybe that's not what inspires you. Maybe photography of landscapes inspires you, and you're really just worried about doing things the way that you do them and not how other people did them. Listen, that's fine. There's no rules here. This is artistic expression. You do what you want. That's just how it is. Now, I also hear a lot of times people say, oh, abstract art, that's easy. And the same people that criticize how people do art now, oh, it's abstract, that's so easy. It's not easier than painting traditionally. It's just that, I don't know, easier, sometimes it can be faster. Maybe it's faster. It doesn't mean that it's easier. You may spend a lot of time on, especially oil painting. You spend days on the same piece. And oh my goodness, if you have ever done a colored pencil piece, that could take you a month just to do the colored. It just takes more time to apply that medium. You can still make an abstract colored pencil piece that still takes you a month. It's a little bit quicker. The abstract stuff is just a little bit quicker, depending on how you work. To make that look interesting, you have to have some skill. You have to know what you're doing. If you've ever just tried to put something down on a canvas and then tried to make it look interesting, well, just look at this here. This is not interesting. So don't let anyone tell you it takes less skill to do something if you like to do abstract art. It's not less skill, it's just different. They're different things. You're working on different skills when you do this. That's all. Some of the things are transferable, but some are very different. And even the medium can change that, because they're doing this. This was much harder for me to get something down than it would be for anything that I would normally do. And it was a lot messier. Most of the time, watercolor is a lot neater. It's a lot cleaner, a lot less cleanup. Unless some people put the buckets of water all over the table. They got like 40 buckets of water. I don't do that. I may have two if I'm using a standard brush, and then I will just most of the time use a water brush because I don't want to deal with the cleanup, and I've learned to use it in a way that benefits me. So I can use a water brush just as good, if not better, than I would ever use a regular brush. So that's just sometimes what I use. But Summer You, it's like a Woodstock mudslide into a white velvet room. I don't know why you're doing that. It's weird. You're a freak. But Summer You, that's what you do. Alright, well that's about it for me. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of it. Again, this paper works for this, definitely. If you're an oil painter or water mixable oil painter, like I am now, all of a sudden, professional, then this paper works, and I would highly recommend it. It was fun, and I've actually, the time I'm recording this, I've already had the painting for about a week, and it's mostly dry on top. Everything seems okay. It hasn't taken 6 months to dry or whatever, and I do believe that the paper helps that happen. So I would highly recommend this. Go check it out, and I'm gonna go, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.